Walk with me.
Unto thee will I cry, O Yahuwah my rock. Be not silent to me, lest if thou be silent to me, I become like them that go down into the pit. Hear the voice of my supplication when I cry unto thee, when I lift my hands toward thy holy oracle. Draw me not away with the wicked and with the workers of iniquity, which speak speech to their neighbors, but mischief is in their hearts. Give them according to their deeds and according to the wickedness of their endeavors. Give them after the work of their hands. Render them their deserts. Because they regard not the works of the I Am, nor the operation of his hand, he shall destroy them and not build them up. Blessed be the I Am, because he has heard the voice of my supplications. The I Am is my strength, my shield, my heart trusteth in him, and I am helped. Therefore my heart greatly rejoiceth, and with my song I will praise him. The I Am is their strength. He is the saving strength of his anointed. Save thy people and bless thine inheritance, and fill them also, and lift them up forever. Psalms chapter 28, verses 1 through 9. Yes, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Those of you on this platform and shared platforms, we thank God for you. And we also thank God for those of you that have been with us since the beginning. Yes, and we thank God for those of you who have came thereafter and here and there's about. And we thank God for those of you that have just subscribed. And we thank God for those of you that are about to subscribe, calling those things that are not as though they are. Yes, all praises to the Most High. Walking with Mr. Clay, yes. We are in the book of Jasher. The book of Jasher, one of the forbidden books, cast away. Some things in it that, many things in it that we should know, but we don't know, and we say, and it agrees with, when you got two books in agreement, just like they compare the four Gospels. Have you seen these plats where the heathen have took the four Gospels and they showed you where the proof of this and this and that? That's for that, yeah. But now here we're talking about the beginnings of things, the things where they count. If you compare the book of Enoch, the book of Jubilees, and the book of Jasher, even the book of Genesis, you compare all of them together, you will see the cohesion that validates these books. I don't care how much you wear these long flowing robes and swallowed up in your traditions, but the fact is these books are valid. Yes, they are very valid. Now, we're in the 30th chapter of the book of Psalms, the 30th chapter of not the book of Psalms, the book of Jasher. We just came from the Psalms. And we're going to read the prayer of Abram. Deliver me from the hands of evil spirits who have sway over the thoughts of men's hearts, and let them not lead me astray from thee, my God. Establish thou me and my seed forever, that we go not astray henceforth and evermore. A Psalm of Abram, chapter 12 and verse 20. Yes, we often do have to pray that prayer because there's spirits in the world. Myriads of spirits, innumerable. And we have no control over them. Even in the books they call the New Testament, it says that submit yourself to God. This is the only way you can resist the devil. How you submit yourself to God? Statutes, laws, commandments, ordinances. Yes. This is the only way you can do it. It's the only way you can commit yourself to God. And we're in verse 15. We left off how that the I Am saw that Leah was hated. In Jasher chapter 30, verse 15, the I Am saw that Leah was hated. Not that he hated her. He loved Leah. I mean, how can you hate somebody you've been laying with like that? I guess you can. I don't know. I don't think men can, but women can. A man can't do it. And it says that in verse 15, and these are their names: Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah. And she afterward left bearing. And she didn't have no more children after that. Now, you talking about this guy was really busy. He really had to take his proteins and whatever you want to call it to keep busy. And these two women were very fertile. And verse 16, at that time Rachel was bearing, and she had no offspring. Rachel envied her sister Leah. And when Rachel saw that she bare no children to Jacob, she took her handmaid Bilhah, and she bare Jacob two sons, Dan and Naphtali. Yes, she bare two sons, Dan and Naphtali. And when Leah saw that she had left bearing, she also took her handmaid Zilpah, and she gave her to Jacob for a wife. And Jacob also came to Zilpah, and she also bare Jacob two sons, Gad and Asher. You see that the building of nations started with children. Even now, the building of families and neighborhoods can start with children. You buy a plot of land. This is why they didn't want you to have 40 acres and a mule. You buy a plot of land, put your children on that land. And they begin to get wives from some people from neighboring lands, and they begin to build and come up with devices and things to help improve, and you farm and you see, one thing about land, you can grow all kind of crops and stuff, and those crops turn into, whether they're trees, whether they're different fibrous crops that make rope. These things tend toward what we have today. They tend toward what we have today. And with the pollution of today, you can even invent plastic and take the plastic that others have thrown away and make fuel out of it. Land. Land means a lot. This is why they don't want you to have it. Now, let's continue. It says now, and Rachel was still barren in those days, and Rachel prayed unto the I Am at that time, and she said, "Oh, Tata Nzambi, my God, remember me. Visit me, I beseech thee, or I ask thee. For now my husband will cast me off, for I have borne him no children. Now, O Sanini Nanini, God, hear my supplication before thee, and see my affliction, and give me children like one of the handmaids, that I may no more bear." And God heard and opened her womb, and Rachel conceived and bare a son, and said, "The I Am have taken away my reproach." And she called his name Joseph, saying, "May the I Am add to me another son." And Jacob was 91 years old when she bare him. Now, this guy was potent. Now, even in this day and time, a man, even in his hundreds, he still can inseminate a female or a human female. A man can do it. It just depends. Not all, but most or many men can do it. Now, we don't know how, but God has blessed this man. See, you wonder why you got so many reproductive problems. You have to call on God. Many of us, we take our reproductive organs and we use them just for pleasure only. That's it. Nothing else, just pleasure only. God, he doesn't mind that, but if you do it within the context of marriage, it's better and well with you. Now, and God heard her open the room, and she bare Joseph, saying, "May the I Am add to me another son." And Jacob was 91 years old when she bare him. And that time Jacob's mother Rebekah sent her nurse Deborah, the daughter of Uz, and two of Isaac's servants unto Jacob. And they came to Jacob to Haran, and they said unto him, "Rebekah has sent us to thee, that thou shalt return to thy father's house to the land of Canaan." And Jacob hearkened unto them in this which his mother had spoken. Now Rebekah still living at this time. You have to remember, Rebekah was 30 years younger than Isaac. And Jacob loved his mother. Now, she wanted to see her babies too Now, at that time, the other 7 years which Jacob served Laban for Rachel was completed. And it was at the end of 14 years that he had dwelt in Haran, and that Jacob said unto Laban, "Give me my wives, and send me away, that I might go to my land. For behold, my mother did send unto me from the land at Canaan, that I should return to my father's house." Now, you have to see that here is Rebecca, sits a queen. She's really a queen. And her son is, you can, as we have in previous chapters, we've understood how Rebecca loved her son Jacob. She loved Esau, but she understood what type of character Esau was. Verse 25, and Laban said unto him, no, not so, I pray thee. See, the 66 books will not tell you. They did not tell you that it was Rebekah that helped Jacob to make up his mind that he had to leave Jacob. I got to go see my mama, and I'm taking my family with me. Okay? And so Laban said, not so, I pray thee, if I have found favor in thy sight, do not leave me. Appoint me thy wages, and I will give them, and remain with thee. See, it's old English. But either way, I don't see how that's weird. But anyway, and Jacob said unto him, this is what thou shalt give me for wages, that I shall this day pass through all thy flock and take away from them every lamb that is speckled and spotted, and such as are brown amongst the sheep and amongst the goat. And if thou wilt do this thing for me, I will return and feed thy flock and keep them as at the first. And Laban did so, and Laban removed from his flock all that Jacob had said and gave them to him. And Jacob placed all that he had removed from Laban's flock into the hands of his sons. And Jacob was feeding the remainder of Laban's flock. And when the servants of Isaac, which had sent unto Jacob, saw that Jacob would not then return with them to the land of Canaan to his father, then they went away from him, and they returned home to the land of Canaan. And Deborah remained with Jacob in Haran, and she did not return with the servants of Isaac to the land of Canaan. And Deborah resided with Jacob's wives and children in Haran, where she was a servant of Isaac. And Jacob served Laban 6 years longer. And when the sheep brought forth, Jacob removed from them such as were speckled and spotted, as he had determined with Laban. And Jacob did so at Laban's for 6 years. And the man increased abundantly, and he had cattle and maidservants and men servants and camels and asses. Now these were people that were not kin to him. The servants, they were not kin to him, but this is how society works. You would join yourself to someone who had cattle and all this, and you would serve them in order that you might get fed and housed and all. They had their own tents and everything. Nomads. It was like a big family. You were just accepted inside the family. You could live there as long as you want. As long as you've been a part. As long as you were a part of that organization, should I say, as far as growing, feeding, cattle. And now there are some organizations today that does these things. The people, they just come together, they build, they plant, they raise children, they do all these things. Yes, and today they want us to be separated. See, one thing, when men come together and women come together and they could form a community, and that community is in cohesion, and that land on which that community is built, you don't have to worry about the middleman in building houses. You don't have to worry about the middleman when the community is proprietors of the land. You don't have to worry about the government or anybody asking anything, because you got this in your school, you homeschool your children and all these things. Now, this is how a good community, or nomads, are made up. Now, and Jacob, verse 32, and Jacob had 200 drove of cattle, and his cattle were large size and beautiful appearance, and they were very productive, and all the families of the sons of men desired to get some of the cattle of Jacob. That was money, for they were exceedingly prosperous. And many of the sons of men came to procure some of Jacob's flock, and Jacob gave them a sheep for a manservant or a maidservant, or for an ass, or for a camel, or whatsoever Jacob desired from them, and they gave him. No, they were not slaves. Do you not know some of your corporations trade employees here and there? They don't tell you, but they do it. Now, let's go again. 34. And Jacob obtained riches and honor and possessions by means of these transactions with the sons of men. He's talking about in the land in which he dwelt. And the children of Laban envied him of this honor. And in the course of time, he heard the words of Laban's son, saying, Jacob has taken away all that was our father's, and of that which was our father's has he acquired of all this glory, not knowing that God had blessed Jacob and his cattle. And Jacob beheld the countenance of Laban and his children, and behold, it was not toward him in those days as it had been before. In other words, you see the face of jealousy. That you'll see the face of jealousy. And the I Am appeared to Jacob at the expiration of the 6 years, and said unto him, Arise and go forth out of this land, and return to the land of thy birthplace, and I will be with thee. In other words, you ain't going to be blessed no more here, boy. You got to go. And it's time to go. When God says such a thing, regardless of what you have accumulated and all that thing, it's time to go, especially when you know it's God. And Jacob rose up at that time, and he mounted his children and wives and all belongings to him upon camels, and he went forth and to go to the land of Canaan to his father Isaac. And Laban did not know that Jacob had gone from him, for Laban had been that day sheep shearing. And Rachel stole her father's images. Now, see, she was kind of pagan there. Or not kind of, she was pagan. And she took them and she concealed them upon the camel upon which she sat. And she went on. And this is the manner of the images in taking a man who was the firstborn, and slaying him, and taking the hair off his head, and taking salt, and salting the head, and anointing it in oil, and taking a small tablet of copper, or a tablet of gold, and writing the name upon it, and placing the tablet under his tongue, and taking the head with the tablet under the tongue, and putting it in the house, and lighting up lights before it, and blowing down to it. In other words, paganism. Now, at the time when they bowed down to it, it speaketh to them in all manners that they ask of it, through the power of the name which it is written in. And some make them in figures of men, of gold and silver, and go to them in times known to them. And the figures receive the influence of the stars, and tell them future things. And in this manner were the images which Rachel stole from her father. In other words, this is what she was used to. This is what she did from her youth. They inquired of these figures, and she figured, well, I have to have this figure. In other words, she did not see that the Most High was not in material things. He doesn't need them. He made them. You don't need them to communicate with you. God doesn't use Ouija boards. God doesn't use tarot cards. God doesn't use all this. God's word already tell you what the future hold, and what your future hold if you obey his commandments, statutes, ordinances, and commandments. This is what God does. And Rachel stole these images, which were her father's, in order that Laban might not know through them where Jacob had gone. Now, if these images were so real, they would say, I'm in Rachel's pouch. And Laban came home in verse 45, and he asked according to Jacob and his household, and he was not to be found. And Laban sought his images to know where Jacob had gone, and could not find them. And he went to some other images, and he inquired of them, and they told him that Jacob had fled from him to his fathers and to the land of Canaan. So what was these images? Who was speaking to him through these images? I said, God don't need to do these things. He doesn't do these things. These are idols, and they're devils. You're worshiping devils, you falling angels. And Laban then rose up and took his brothers and all his servants and went forth to pursue Jacob, and he overtook them in Mount Gilead. Now, let's get here. We're going to note a lot of the idols, yes, some of them, they do speak. Not with, like blah, 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 but in their heads, or maybe a voice out of the air. They do speak. This is clairvoyance. This is what you would call one who consulted spirits, medium. All these things which these spirits use to confuse and to sway men. Sometimes they're just speaking in your head and you think you hear a voice because they have control over these things, and you can hear them audibly, but no one else can hear them. This is the power that they possess. So the fact is that even your child, when they're growing up, they start laughing in their head and they say something is talking to them. That's a devil or a fallen angel talking to them. And it will grow up in them and cause them to be all kind of things, walking out of their gender, psychotic, all kind of things that are contrary to the things that we know that are right. Yes. Now, it's best to be careful. Now, and Laban rose up and took his brothers and all his servants, and he went forth and pursued Jacob, and he overtook them in Mount Gilead. And Laban said unto Jacob, what is this thou hast done to me to flee and to deceive and lead my daughters and their children as captives taken by the... Oh, these are my wives, dude. What's up? How can you come? He've worked and he've done the things and they paid the bride price. These are his brides. These are his. And they have even agreed to be his, and where he go, they will go. See, this is one mark of man. If you got any woman that's with you and she really wants to be with you, you have to make sure that she says, your God is my God. Your people are my people. And this way we will go. Now, when you get that, then there is nothing that can stand between you two. Not religiously, even amongst relatives, can stand between you two, because not only she have chosen you, she has said there's nothing that can separate us. Where you go, I go. That was the biggest thing right there. Your God is my God. Now that is huge, very huge. And very few women would say that to a man. Very few. You don't even hear that anymore. Most are just, oh, I love you. They think love is that the whole thing. The love, they don't even understand love. Everybody has their own definition of love. You can take 5 people and ask them, what does love mean? And you'll get 5 definitions in most cases. Try it. Now, he says now in verse 48, and thou didst not suffer me to kiss them and send them away with joy. Now see, Laban was deceitful, like greedy. He was a businessman. You have to be wary and careful of businessmen, because some of them have gotten to the point where they forgot they're so used to business, they forget that they're human, or a businesswoman, or a businessman, businesswoman. Be careful. And thou stoodest my gods. Now that he was missing, because the demons they still wanted to draw them away. See, God said he'd given them spirits in the book of Enoch. And these spirits was to draw everyone away, just as Abram sent everything he had away from Isaac, to draw them away. And Isaac is the one that he had even pulled close to himself, that he might teach them the ways of the Most High. And the Most High have done the same thing with nations. So just because a person looked like you or whatever and they believe differently, it's because God, these devils or these so-called what they call gods, were given that they might draw them away from the Most High. You are a vessel unto dishonor. Your disbelief is just it, disbelief. We don't care. You do what you have to do. Now, and thou didst not suffer me to kiss them and send them away with joy, and thou didst steal my gods and didst go. Now he has control over it. How can somebody steal your God? See, this is the foolishness that these devils and these, although they're real, because even the magicians of Egypt could do the tricks. They can do all these things, but God is bigger, and that even God created the snake out of Moses' hands and it swallowed up all what they could do. And Jacob answered Laban, saying, because I was afraid lest thou would take thy daughters by force from me, and now with whomsoever thou findest thy God shall he die. Now that's an agreement. They didn't know that Rachel took him, the one whom Jacob even loved. He didn't know that. And Laban searched in verse 50 for the images, and examining all Jacob's tent and furniture, but could not find them. And Laban said unto Jacob, we will make a covenant together, and it shall be a testimony between me and thee. If thou shalt afflict my daughters, or take other wives beside my daughters, even God shall be a witness between me and thee in this matter. Now who are you? Jacob do what he want. They his wives. If they agree and she's part of the sisterhood, hey, it's all on. Now, verse 52, and they took stones and made a heap, and Laban said, this heap is a witness between me and thee. Therefore he called that the name thereof the name Gilead. A witness between me and thee, Gilead. And Jacob and Laban offered sacrifice upon the mount, and they ate there by the heap, and they tarried in the mount all night. And Laban rose up early in the morning, and he wept with his daughters, and he kissed them, and he returned unto his place. Yes, I can understand his love for his daughter. And he hastened and sent off his son Beor, who was 17 years old, with Abichrof, the son of Uz, and the son of Nahor, and with them were 10 men. And they hastened and went and passed on the road before Jacob, and they came by another road to the land of Seir. And with that, we're going to say peace.
Walk with me.